So the Lord took me into a vision, and in that vision I saw myself standing in a harvest field. And the harvest field was going as far as the eye could see, a harvest field of wheat. And as far as the eye could see, there was wheat in every direction. And I was there and I saw this vision of myself working in the harvest field. And I had a sickle in my hand. And with that sickle, I was cutting, and I was cutting and bringing in harvest as fast as I could. But when I realized that I had only brought in just a small portion of the field, not even a space the size of a room, I realized, I saw myself throw the sickle down, get on my knees before the Lord, and I began to weep. It's too much. The harvest is too much. And then I heard the Lord speak to me out of heaven, and this fire fell. And as I was on the ground, I felt this fire fall down from heaven. Hey, and as this fire hit me in the chest, I heard the Holy Spirit speak to me. And he asked me, he said, do you want to build your ministry, or do you want to give birth to a movement? And in that place of the fire, I began to cry out to the Lord and say, God, whatever it takes, birth a movement to bring in the harvest. And as I began to cry that out in the fire, I was in that place of the fire. And in that place of the glory of the Lord spoke to me. He said, dedicate yourself to prayer and to fasting. And then as I began to see out of the fire, God was dropping these combines, these large combines, and they were falling from heaven. And they were falling into the harvest field, and they began to take in the harvest at an alarming rate. The harvest began to come in, and they were representing different ministries that God was going to raise up, and that God was going to launch out of the place of the fire and out of the place of intimacy. God was going to raise up ministry, a movement of ministries to launch into the harvest field. And as I saw this being birthed, I realized it was being birthed out of the place of fire. And then that is the vision of what God is doing here. That is the vision of what God desires to do in the nations today. He is releasing laborers into the harvest field, but not with sickles, not with the old ways of doing ministry, but he's releasing ministries of the combine to bring in the harvest at a rate faster than ever dreamed of before.
Jesus said, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." God is raising up a new generation of harvesters. Come and be equipped for the harvest and be launched out into the field.